Hey everyone, it's Rick Theriault, your Maine real estate guide, and today I'm on location here at my home in Millinocket, Maine, getting ready to start a project that I've been putting off for about, I don't know, 3 years. Just timing hasn't been right. Either I had an eye injury that prevented me from being able to do it, or I was just too darn busy. But what we got going on today is I got to try to rebuild my front steps leading into my house. Let me show you what we're doing here. So the steps to my home, I've been here since the house was here. The house was built in 1990, so they've been here, I don't know, 35 years. They're in relatively good shape. They're showing some wear. I haven't had an opportunity to put any stain on them the last couple of years. I just haven't done it, partly from neglect, partly from I needed to do a more extensive repair, and I just didn't have time. My house is built out of red cedar. Red cedar is a very, very good material to use. It's resistant to rot and decay, but it's not rot and decay proof. So I do have a little bit of rot I need to take care of. You can see from the difference in the color here a couple of years ago, well, longer than that, about 10 years ago, I replaced this post here on the front with a new post because that one was rotted. The one immediately behind it over here is also rotted. You can see, I don't know if you can, yeah, you can see, I can stick my finger right in there. So everything else around that is solid. So what I need to do is remove the post and reattach the rest of the railing and balusters to it. I also need to remove, I don't know if you can see, it's a hard angle to get at, but the bottom board here, the front kick plate, is rotted as well. And a few years ago when I was doing some work on the back of the house, I bought some material. So I have some on hand. So this is red cedar that I'll cut to replace that kick plate. And here's a post that I have that I'll cut to fit to replace that post there. Once I get that done and installed, then I need to sand this a little bit and power wash it, and then I'll put a couple of coats of I use Sikkens stain on it, and it'll look good. It won't be perfect. It's 35 years old, but it'll look pretty good, and the rot will be taken care of. So that's what we're up to today. Me and the boys are here. The hardest part about any project is just getting started. So I dug out the materials. Now it's time to go to work. So before we tear into the front steps, I'm checking off another little project. I was up to the camp yesterday. I did quite a bit of trim work out there, and now we're at the stage where things are starting to fall into place. I still have some other items to do, but the goal, short-term goal right now is to get it pretty well buttoned up so that my wife and I and the 2 dogs can go out and spend a couple of days here in the next couple of weeks and just kind of hang out at camp and use it. But I've got a little bit of trim work to do, and while I was there, scavenged through my pile of scraps, and the trim boards that I'm using are 3.5 by 3.5. And so I had some scraps of V-match that will allow me to use my table saw and trim them up and rip out. You know, I can cut the tongue off of this, and I can make these 3.5 inches wide, which is kind of a standard trim size clear pine. And rather than just cut them up and throw them in the fire, I'll make use of that material because it's fairly expensive on a per foot basis. So I'm in the process of taking care of that. So next time I go out to camp, I can put those trim boards in place when I get there. But I thought I'd take a little opportunity to talk to you about the table saw and what I have on hand here that I've used quite a bit over the years. It's a nice It's a nice tool made in the United States. Still made today. You don't see them quite as often. Used to be, you would see a Shopsmith display set up frequently in malls across the United States, and they'd be doing demonstrations, and people would buy a Shopsmith. I bought this one used. Boy, I'm gonna say, and I wasn't living here then, so it had to be 25 plus years ago. I haven't done any repairs to it. It's the original motor. I think it's still the original belt on it. And I use it from time to time. When I don't use it, I can just push it and park it on the side of my garage. It doesn't take up very much space, but it does a lot of things. It does more than I use. Right now I've got it set up as a table saw, and I'm ripping those pieces of trim out, and it does a really nice job with that. It also has this bandsaw attachment, and here's a little plug for the giveaway I've got going, the Moose Call giveaway. If you haven't subscribed to my channel and or entered that, I'll put a link right here, Moose Call giveaway. But when I'm making that moose call, part of the process will be utilizing this bandsaw, because I'll create a cone out of the birch bark, and then I'll trim it so it's it's nice and even on both sides, and then I'll cut a piece of birch bark trim to reinforce the mouth of the cone, and then I'll stitch that all together with rawhide. So I will be using the Shopsmith as part of that process to get that done. It is also a disc sander. I also have a lathe attachment that I can mount on this, and it all uses the same motor, which is I guess the big selling point of the Shopsmith. It's one motor and a bunch of tools. So I guess the short story here is, if you happen to see a Shopsmith, even if it's for sale used, they're a good tool. I use mine all the time. I mean, like any power tool, you got to pay attention to where your fingers are. I mean, there's a lot of people that work with wood that are missing a digit or two. I have, so far so good, but I use push sticks and whatnot to keep my fingers away from the blade. But Shopsmith, made in the United States. You can still they still have a web presence. I think they're made in Ohio, but check them out. They're a great product. Yeah, we're making a little bit of progress. I had to dig out my reciprocating saw, or sawzall, another name for it, because I had to cut some fasteners. There's some screws in here that the heads are all full of stain, and there was no way I was going to get them out. So the only thing I could really do was use a metal blade and cut those screws right off. And down here, I'm going to do the same thing here, where the post was screwed from one of the steps directly to it from underneath. I'll just forego that attachment. And I'll clean this area up here. It's pretty solid. It's not rotted there at all. So I'll cut those off. I'm going to clean that up, and I'll probably put a coat of it's sold by Log Home products, I think, but it's wood epoxy, and I've got two forms of it. I've got a putty as well as a liquid. I'm going to apply the liquid. It'll soak into the wood and protect that from rotting ever, and then I'll cover that with stain. But you can see how rotted that post was. It came off, some of it in pieces. It's just powder, but it was high time to take care of that. So I'll finish cleaning this up. Then once I get that done, I'll put that epoxy on here and let that dry. And while that's all happening, I'm going to cut another post to length. And what I'm going to do, this one was attached. They did did a good job. But I've got dado blades on my Shopsmith, and I'm going to use dado blades. They had spliced a piece here on the bottom for the to it. I'm just going to cut a nice dado that's going to be the exact width and the right height for that portion here, this horizontal, to sit right in that groove. And then I'm going to cover the whole post, top, bottom, groove, everything with stain, and that'll keep it weather tight for a lot longer. So that the stain I use, the Sikkens stain, is very good. It's just it recommends, on boards that are exposed to the weather, to have all 6 sides of the board coated with stain. So 6 sides would be all 4 sides of the board plus the ends. So that's what I'm going to do. So the post is coming along good. Then the kick plate, we'll see how what kind of mess I get into there. I've got to remove some bricks in front of the steps and excavate a little lower, and then remove that kick plate, reattach a kick plate, put the bricks back. Home repair, every job isn't 5 minutes. It might take me a few days to get this all done, but when it's done, it'll look good. Well, we've got the post removed, and I fabricated a new one, and I'm about ready to put some stain on it and let it dry. I'll let it dry for 24 hours before I reinstall. Well, let me show you some of the other products that I'm going to use here as part of this repair. So here's the post I removed, along with the brand new cedar post, and I cut this nice dado joint here using the Shopsmith. Did a really nice job, matched up with that groove of the original post. Over here where I took the old one out, it's pretty solid. It's a little punky there because that post was holding water because it was rotted. So what I'm going to do after I put the stain on this post is I'm going to use, I mentioned it earlier, some liquid epoxy, LiquidWood epoxy. It's made by a company called Abatron. Part A and B, you mix up equal parts of each. I won't take much, and you put that on the wood. It's going to suck right into that punky wood and harden. Once that hardens and dries, I'll mix up a little bit of this wood epoxy made by the same company, but this is a paste. And what that will fill in that divot so there won't be a hole there, and then I can sand that smooth. So there'll be a nice level area for the post to sit on right here and make solid contact. So when you live in a wooden house, over time you're going to accumulate some of these products because wood is it's a renewable resource, but sometimes you can do a minor repair using some wood epoxy versus having to tear out a whole section of wood. In this case, the post was all gone, so I had to take it out. But it will make a much better repair, filling in that divot, and should last. Hey, these original steps lasted 35 years, so if I do this right, 35 more years, I don't think I'll have to touch it again. Well, I've got most of the sides except for the one you can't, on the very bottom, covered with stain. That's drying soon, probably another couple of hours. This is a Sikkens material is a wonderful product, but it has a long dry time, and so and you can't let it get dew on it or anything during that period. But provided it cures properly, it'll stay in really good shape. This post over here that was done a few years ago, I don't think I've stained it since, and it's still in really good condition. It hasn't even started to delaminate at all. It's dirty, but it's still in good shape. Anyway, we are making progress. Started work on getting rid of that rotted kick plate. I had to take it out in pieces. It was all assembled with really long finish nails, and it had some in the top here. I was able to put my reciprocating saw with a metal blade and cut the ones off on the top. The ones here on the front, obviously, I couldn't get the metal blade in there because there was just no way to do it. So I changed blades to my demo blade and worked my way across from support to support and cut on both sides of the support with the demo blade. And now I can use my pry bar and get the remnants off and pull those nails. And then we're prepared to put on a new kick plate. I'm going to have to finish taking up all this brick layer here and level out the sand and level out these bricks. So this little project, which is taking care of a little bit of rot, to do it right, really it blows up, and that's often the case when you do any home improvement project. What should be 2 or 3 hours ends up being 2 or 3 days to get it done right. But hey, if it lasts 15, 20 years, with just some occasional maintenance with putting on some new stain every year or two, I'm fine with that. Well, we're still working on the front step project here. Let's show you where we're at. Hopefully we'll get this all buttoned up today. So I had taken out the rotted post as well as the rotted kick plate, and I've cut one to fit. I'm going to be reinstalling that here this morning. I did power wash the steps and sanded in places where the finish was really worn off, and put down just a sealing coat of Sikkens stain. And once I get this all reassembled, I'll put a nice finish coat over the entire thing. So it's coming along pretty well. But in addition to that, what was thrown into the mix was I have several varieties of apples here on the property, and one of them is a early variety called a Lodi. Lodi apples are they're my earliest variety, and this year I got a heavy crop of them. So yesterday I picked 4 bushels of Lodis, and I need to take care of those. The temperatures are currently in the daytime temperatures are in the I don't know, 88 yesterday. I think it's supposed to get up to 95 here in a couple of days. It's going to be hot here in Maine. And Lodis don't keep anyway. They're a very fragile apple, and they rapidly decay. So you'll never probably ever see them in a grocery store. They are a good apple. I think I'm going to get a apple crisp out of out of this batch of apples, but there's only so many apple crisp you can eat, and so Nancy's going to make one today. But I'm going to press the rest of the apples into apple juice. I got my cider press out, and we'll as I'm working on the steps, I'll also be grinding and pressing apples and freezing juice, and we'll see. I'm predicting I'll probably, out of 4 bushels, I'll probably have a couple of gallons of juice, and I'll take care of those apples. Otherwise, they're just gonna rot, because there's no way we can take care of that many apples, just my wife and I. But it's going to be a good day. Going to get a lot done. Here's the parts for the steps. Put a nice coat of stain on them, let it dry. Now I'll reassemble here in a bit. So stay tuned. Well, I get this front steps all put back together replaced the rotted sections and put a coat of stain over the whole thing. Now I just got to keep my dogs off it for about a week and let everything solidify really good. My dogs have a habit of, when you open up the door in the morning, they line up on the top step and they listen for squirrels, and then they launch. So this is kind of the area that's kind of worn. That's their launch pad. So they dig in and they fly. So I got to let that stain set and harden up as good as it can there before I let them launch. So we're going to try to keep them off it as best we can. But I think the job came out pretty good. The steps look a heck of a lot better than they did when I got started. That nice replacement kickboard there. And the new post up here. That's all looking good. While that's going on, I've been squeezing apples. So, still got one more bushel to go. But here's close-up of the juice. Now, normally when I squeeze my apples, typically, because I've got a lot of different varieties, I do a mixture of various varieties. But right at the moment, the only variety that I picked were the Lodi's, because they're my early variety and they're ready. So I haven't tasted the juice yet, but I'll taste it. If it's good, I'll keep it just as the way it is. If it's not, what happens when you have a mixture is you get some apples that are a little sweeter, some that are a little tartar, and just like a blend of whiskey or a blend of wine or whatnot, you take a couple of things that might not be very good on their own, mix them together, and the mixture is really good. But we'll see what the Lodi juice tastes like here. I'll give you a report back here when I have an opportunity to do that. But if I don't like it on my palate, what I'll do is I'll just freeze it, because I need to freeze it to keep it. And then when my other varieties are ready and I'm squeezing more apples here later in the fall, I'll thaw the frozen juice out and mix it in with the rest, and then repackage it. But the juice keeps really well. We froze, I don't know, 6 or 8 gallons last year, and I have 2 quart plastic containers, and I just fill them up and put them in the freezer and freeze them, and then take one out, thaw it out, and instead of buying orange juice, I have my apple juice with breakfast in the morning. It's really good. So anyway, that's all for today. Until next time, this is Rick Theriault, your Maine real estate guide, living the dream here in Millinocket, Maine.